Anambra city that is not.
The political representation of the Igbo people within Nigeria's federal structure has a balance?
Well, I don't like to discuss politics at that point because politics is a game of who gets what, how, where, and the sharing of allocation. The Igbo man, the last time an Igbo man was head of state was in 1966. And you know what it is, especially the kind of political atmosphere you have in Nigeria. So, you can't be balanced as you are thinking. You can never, because especially from Buhari's era to date, where what people are doing just simple, get power, empower your people only. So it can be. However, for me, these things are gradually done. The representation will come if we negotiate. Politics is all about negotiation, So that's why I don't want to go deeper than that.
Now, looking at the current generation and the young people that we have now, do you think that the youths are conscious of their roots as Igbo people and have this consciousness of Igbo identity, looking at our society as it is today?
Well, it depends on who the youth is. If the youth has proper foundation, why not? You can't be another person. You must be yourself. But if you don't have that proper identity, that's where roots and orientation, foundation, that's where you will have that challenge. But I think that a lot of our youth understand who they are. And in this understanding of who they are, they are trying to identify themselves. But you see, these things are evolving, because once you interact with other people, that interaction will influence you reasonably.
All right. Now, finally, before we go, what do you think are the existential misconception of the Igbo identity? Any misconception or general weakness?
There are so many misconceptions by non-Igbo people. In the first week of September, I went to give a keynote, a lead paper presentation in former Benue State University, now Father Adasu University. And one of the things I discovered was that there were a lot of name calling. Those people were telling me how their parents talked to them about who the Igbos are. But that they found out that the Igbo people are not what they were claiming that they were doing. And so we have some misconceptions too about other tribes. If you come to Yoruba man, will say Igbo man is a Jokuta Momi. He can swallow stone and he won't drink water. Such hard they say. And so other people are like that. So there are these misconceptions about tribes that people have. But be that as it may, I don't think that they have anything to do with us. The only thing we can solve in Nigeria, if we want to, is the problem of ethnicity. And that's from that point we go on and get better.
Okay, Professor Chidozie Chukwokolo, thank you for joining us this morning and for your opinion on the continuous dialogue of Igbo identity.
Thank you. I appreciate you people for calling me, and we will continue to do our own little bits to sensitize our people to know who they are. I'm a proud Igbo man because my ancestry has a lot of things to share to the world.
Thank you.
We have done well. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's where we'll leave it this morning from our end. But don't go anywhere, as we'll be bringing an interview from our Abuja studios for your viewing pleasure. I am Uchenna Chimdi Olwoha.
And I am Lilian Wali. Have a great watch.
Signature TV, news in your pocket. Well, another day, another morning, and another time to meet. This is the conference. I'm Joko. Welcome to this program this morning, where we are going to interrogate yet another very interesting, one of my colleagues said, delicate, sensitive. Nothing is off limit for as long as we are patriotic. Welcome to the program. Tochukwu Korea. Well, you were here with me last time.
That's right.
How does it feel just one day after to be back here?
It's always a pleasure being here. Like you said, it's a patriotic service we are giving. You know, provoking conversations around the issues making the rounds in the politics. So.
As we provoke conversations, don't forget that he's the chief executive of Provocate.
That's exactly what we do as provoke conversations.
You are welcome. Andy Ezane, you're welcome this morning.
Thank you very much, Chief, and thank you.
How do you feel enjoying your Nigerian citizenship?
You want to put me on the bind, but it's okay. I'm enjoying it. I mean, Nigeria should be a great country, and I think all of us who are here, we are blessed. If you go to many other countries, you actually can only wish and say, I wish Nigeria were really Nigeria.
Well, I wish Nigeria were really Nigeria. Afro Jagdeen, now I understand that if a slave ship berthed at the Apapa port in Lagos, boldly written slave ship going to America, that's a number of Nigerians will scramble into it. Is that something to laugh over?
That leaves a lot to be desired. I don't think so. But I must add, Chief, there is something this country needs. We need more of you. I really want to see you replicate what you're doing into younger broadcasters, because I always rush here when you ask me to come. You know why? Because I love the way you do it. I am also a broadcaster, but every time I sit in front of you, I'm learning, I'm seeing a new and better way of doing things, even though you're old school.
Well, maybe one of these days we play high life music on this program because I'm of the old generation. Well, you're welcome to the program. Now, this morning we're asking a question. Who is interested in a military coup in Nigeria? I'm sure you'll be wondering why we ask it as a question. When the social media began, somehow it has gone into the mainstream media. Now it has become a national conversation that there was an attempted push to swing backward to allow a military gentlemen, I think they are called officers and gentlemen, who attempted to seize power. Of all places in Nigeria. That is the story making the rounds in the social media, got into the mainstream media, but the defense headquarters has been consistent in its own response to this. It was not an attempt to seize power. The military is just trying to discipline some of its officers. Initially 16, we are told now 42, who tried to behave unprofessionally. Some of them had failed their promotion exams and were acting out of order. Don't forget that the military is a regimented institution. Some of them had not been promoted and were not behaving according to regiment. And so they have been taken in. But that's not the story in the open space. Because the story in the open space is that they attempted to take over power. And the first story that broke said they were doing it in collaboration with one or two civilians. In clear statement, the former governor of Bayelsa State, former the Minister of State for Petroleum, Timi Priya Silva. Silva, through his media aide, had said his fingers are not in that pie. He is not a conspirator. He is not given to planning coups. He is a sworn, diligent member of the APC, and nobody should drag his name into it. But gentlemen, this morning were asking a question and want to interrogate that question. In asking the question, who is interested in a coup in Nigeria? I want us to look at, does Nigeria deserve that interruption? The circumstances that surround Nigeria today and Nigeria's future, can any person contemplate that the answer to it is a coup? After Day.
The answer to that question still remains the ballot box. A military coup, in my opinion, is lackluster. An attempt by men of the military to take us back to where we used to be is old school thinking. The bottom line is that the world has actually moved beyond military interventions. Any attempt to want to take over power by force, having enjoyed uninterrupted power for almost 30 years now, is it?
27 now?
27, plus years from 1999 to where we are, in my opinion, is not the way to go. Of course, you can get power through the barrel of the gun, but for even what we're doing now and more, democracy, in my opinion, multi-party democracy, in my opinion, a listening leader, in my opinion, a country where leaders do all they can to unite the people as against divide the people religiously, ethnically, and what have you, is what a heterogeneous country like Nigeria needs. And hence, to answer your question directly, who probably is interested in a military coup? It is always an elite thing. Because I am an everyday Nigerian, I walk around the streets, I do get to interact with every and anybody. Military coups are not things you get to hear of, recently. There was military coups in Niger, in Mali, and what's the other place? Burkina Faso. How did it end? The bottom line was the normal pressure that the West would have said, no, democracy is the way to go. Did we hear much of it this time? No, we did not. Even though there were attempts, even by the Nigerian government, to persuade these young officers to return power to the people, which is, of course, civil power, which is the democratic way of us wanting to do things. And hence, I think it's an elitist thing. Once people think they are running out of favor with the powers that be, what they do is that they invite their military colleagues to come in and see if they can ruffle, the boat. But in my opinion, I think it's largely an elitist thing, and it's not the way to go.
Those days are gone. Andy, do you feel that our institutions, and I'm going to name names in these institutions, have performed under democracy in such a way as the military institution to understand that trifling with seizures power is absolute nonsense. And I'm going to name names. Has our legislature, as an institution, representative of the interests of the people, canvassing and pushing to make sure that governance respects, produces, and services the interests of the people, performed well enough to make a cool conversation an absolute nonsense?
No, I think the answer will have to come in two ways. You know, the legislature and of course a substantial portion of our democratic institutions have not performed well. They have not done well. They have not given people any reason to hear them and to know that the reason, you know, why we really embrace democracy, which is the way we ought to do, there's been no, they do not justify that confidence. They do not justify what they ought to represent to people. They have not provided that support to people. They have not provided that voice, being the representative of the people, for the people to know, yes, we can be heard, our interests are being protected. You know, certainly they have not in any way met that expectation, you know, from the people. But having said that, there is no way, nobody actually at this point in time we say they have failed, they have not done well, but the solution is not a military coup. No, we have, just like Jadin said earlier on, we have gone way beyond that. And for Nigeria in particular, you know, I think I cannot get it all right at this point in time or all highlighted, but if you go back to our history, I think we must have had about 9 or 10 of the coups, you know, that we have had since we started having it until the last one. And our experience has shown us that they hold no solution to our problems. In fact, along the line, they became more of nightmare, you know, than solution.
They became the problem.
Yeah, than, you know, so where we are now, what we know of our military guys, you know, in governance, they are not what anybody, you know, we want to call for. At this point in time, like we said, we may not be satisfied with the presidency and the way it's going. We may not be satisfied with the legislature. We may not be satisfied with the state governors, but we can afford to sit down and abuse the hell out of them. I mean, that is democracy, and we have the liberty to do that, and we are doing it. That's why we complain when they begin to show certain tendencies in the political leadership of the country, intolerance, you know, towards criticisms and all that. We complain about that. But we still have the liberty, just like we are doing now, to say that you are not doing very well, you can go out of the way, you can do this and do that. I don't want a situation where I come here to talk, and by the time I'm going out, I see what people dragging me to where I don't know. You know, I think nobody wants that anymore. And it doesn't hold any solution, any better prospect for us. And it is not in any way in alignment with where the world is today. It's an aberration, really. Nobody wants any khaki person that is giving us an address in the morning and telling us where we should go like school children. You know, we don't want that anymore. So definitely, there is a lot that needs to be done by those who are presiding over our affairs. You know, and the most important thing as we go along, I'm sure we are going to talk about it. One of the things that we must guard against, one of the things that we are not going to accept, is all these shenanigans that try to undermine elections. We must have that opportunity when you do not perform well and things are not going well, for people to come and say, no, enough of it, thank you, go your way. If you do not perform well, and you also close the opportunity or the prospect of people changing it, then invariably you are inviting some of these contraptions that we said we don't want to go that direction at all. It shouldn't happen. So definitely military regime, no, you know, definitely not at all, not our solution.
We'll come to the electoral processes. I want to cite two instances, Korea, and those who manage their media affairs can defend to their heart's content. Babangida was a military head of state.
President.
Can you hear him now? We never elected him, but here Alpha Jagdeen has echoed that name, president.
That's right.
He was an illegal power occupier who was progressively moving into legitimizing that illegality. First, he dropped the name head of state. He became a military president. Second, he would not hand over power. What am I saying? Instead of the people electing you, you use the barrel of the gun, you grab power, then you turn yourself into what should have been had you come to the ballot box.
You transmute.
In other words, you were incompetent, you were incapable to the ballot box, you misused your position having guns. Sani Abacha, same thing. Who the cap fits? That's Sani Abacha. He was heading to becoming now. I do not know that this word is correct. Can Kupiism become the alternative to democracy? So if you want to become head of state, you plan a coup, stay there, turn yourself, because that's our history.
Well, unfortunately, yes, that's our history. But like everybody else has said, coup d'etat is unfashionable, so to speak, especially given the complexities of the Nigerian environment. Thank God we didn't hear martial music at any point. And that is why it is now speculative whether there was actually a coup
or not.
attempt or not. We didn't get to the point of anybody losing his or her life. So that is if there was actually a coup plot, so to speak. So, but maybe if there had been a martial music on the radio and on televisions, somebody would have come to reel out reasons why they needed to intervene. Okay. Now, talking about reasons, like they also said, there could be 1,001 reasons. Anybody who wants to carry out a coup must necessarily have reasons. More so in a country where we are enmeshed in lots and lots of challenges. You know, some of them avoidable, some of them technical, some of them too complex, to be, managed and all of that. And the unfortunate truth, like you said, is that our experience has shown that those who seize power because they think something is going wrong and they want to come and correct it, have never been able to correct the very things that they came to correct. Babangida, for example, you cited. Babangida was the first president that took us through.
Please, point of order.
I mean, the first military president.
Thank you. He was a military head of state.
The first military head of state, who took us to the doldrums economically through structural adjustment program. And what is SAP? Or what was SAP? SAP was just an imposition of the Bretton Woods institutions, who insisted that Nigeria must devalue the naira and must do X, Y, Z, remove subsidy, and just mess up the economy and all of that. Now, what is annoying is that with all the intellect and intelligence usually ascribed to the man IBB, I didn't see why. I don't know why he didn't see it coming. He didn't read between the lines that some of those policies would not work for Nigeria because we were not and are still not a producing nation, and the structures to industrialize are still very paralyzed, and so on. So what I'm saying in effect is, whatever the reasons they had or they might have had for trying, for contemplating, to push out the democratically elected government, through the use of force, is very unwelcome. And a coup at this time or at any time in Nigeria will be very unwelcome. And let me also say that Nigerians today may not be as complacent as the Nigerian in 1984 or so and so on. So anybody contemplating a coup may have to think again, because Nigerians are ready to resist any such nonsense. Permit my use of words. Yes, coups may be all around us, and the rhetoric about fellow African countries, especially in the sub-Saharan region, wanting to be economically independent, take control of their resources and all of that, and push back on neocolonialism and imperialist tendencies and all of that, giving up. Those things sound plausible, but they are easier said. There is more work, more fundamental issues to be dealt with before even thinking of whether we are dealing with imperialist tendencies and all of those things. So how are we managing our own issues and all of that? But the bottom line is that if democracy could not achieve it for us, neither can a military dictatorship achieve it for us.
Andy, I'll come to Andy. I want to come to place, because while I was speaking, I was writing the speech of the likely coup plotters, if indeed there was a coup, in my head. And that speech is what will guide me on some of the issues I'm going to raise. In 1966, 10% and corruption were cited by the coup plotters. Every other coup has cited corruption in Nigeria. Cluelessness in national leadership has been cited in virtually every military coup speech. Division of the country into ethnic has been cited by every other coup plotter. If there were coup plotters indeed, if there were people interested in a coup in the country, is it likely that these items will be missing in their school speech? We dare not say corruption is in high heavens. Nepotism has taken over governance. Cluelessness in governance.
Hunger in the land.
The very same things that began in 1966. Andy.
Yeah, certainly those are the things they would have said. I mean, these are like constants. Anybody who jumps up will say the same thing. There's a point to note in that. What it means if we started hearing of these things way back when they said them in 1966, and it had continued to repeat all to this point in time. In fact, if they talked about 10%ers in those days, I thought these days they would probably be talking about 50%ers.
Or even 70.
Or even, so there is something that should worry us in that, because that means after all this, like I said earlier on, after about 9 coups or 10 coups in the country, or through all these military, people, and then after the democracies and every other thing, there is a statement about the society we live in. That means actually that we are in reverse gear. What it means is, because, when you look at the country today, the reason why you feel depressed is there is a major difference in talking about concrete development and concrete, concrete development in the country, where we are looking at, the roads, if you build the roads and the high rise,
and they make noise about those.
Those are not
development.
Those are not actually development. That is not actually how to measure the success of a society. If you come to the actual measurements of the progress of the society, that's where you know that we are really in a mess, because we have not really made any progress. So there's a very important point before I lose my thought in that direction is, for the government that we have, all of us have said it over and over again, no, we do not want coup. But it does not stop there. It does not stop there. There is a challenge to those who are holding the reign of government to make sure that you do not carry on in such a way that the coup people, whoever is nursing that inordinate ambition, is encouraged. Because there is a way that you are going to push people to the wall. Even the people begin to even open their hearts to something that ordinarily they know is an aberration. I give you an example. I link it up actually with a discussion we have held in an earlier program about Trump saying that you want to come to Nigeria, to storm Nigeria because you want to save Christians from Christian genocide. No Nigerian wants to have that from any foreign president or any foreign country to do that. But if the government you have at home is actually carrying on in such a way that people are exposed to all sorts of danger, that people are no longer sure of their life, they begin to see all sorts of funny propositions from abroad as viable. Who knows, that might give us protection. So linking this to the coup, we do not wonder, we do not think that there is a way to go there. There is nothing they are going to tell us in terms of all the things you have mentioned about you are having an idea of the speech they are going to. I just don't even imagine what they are going to tell us. But the fact is that definitely the things they will tell us are going to come out from the failings of the government.
Insecurity.
So when the government have been found wanting, insecurity, poverty, electricity supply, transportation, call it everything that goes to the quality of life that people live. If we are found wanting in terms of that area, I can already, just like you now, I can imagine what the coup maker will actually have in his speech. It will not be for want of what to say. So the challenge is to the government, please don't help. I think it's the same Babangida, if we are talked about undue radicalism. So don't actually encourage people, heading towards this line of undue radicalism to have any reason to even dream about it. There is, before I stop, there is one other thing, that we must need to point out. The problems of Nigeria are quite intricate. We have talked about diversifying the military installations and equipment in the country. There are people who believe that it is an expression of their power in Nigeria for you to now go and concentrate everything. It used to be in Kaduna, everything must be there to show that that is where the power is. The reason why, apart from every other thing in the society today, that you cannot actually go to United States or many other and start talking of, planning a coup, because it looks hopeless. But where will you start? If you are planning a coup in California, virtually everything you have that is running a nation is there. Virtually the same thing is existing in New York. Everything is on the axis of Washington and the rest of them. So if you go and you go to Annapolis, for instance, in Maryland, and you actually target the military, the naval training ground and everything, and you take it, you have not started anywhere. So if you carry all your installations and make sure that they are within about 10 kilometer radius in Kaduna, you are not doing anybody any good. You might think that you are expressing power. You are muscle today that we have political, whatever, everything is. It doesn't make sense. So we must have to move to make sure that you protect the country by diversifying these things and having them at every end, so that if anybody goes to one radio station and he'll be talking to himself, there are not many people he will be addressing in the other part of the country. That is a part of the means of making sure that nobody thinks in that direction, because it will not be viable.
Alpha, this coup plotter speech that I just wrote in my head.
Purported coup plotter
speech. Alleged to coup plotter speech. Should it not be a red flag for the Nigerian government?
Definitely is a red flag. We cannot deny the fact that coups were once a part of our national history, but we don't want it in the future. And the future starts now. The bottom line is that is a red flag. Can we sit down and give our democratic tenants its pride of place? Can political parties rise to the occasion? Can checks and balances become the order of the day? Can we see that the National Assembly is oversighting the executive? Can we see that laws for the betterment of Nigerians are the order of the day? Can we see the executive and by arm the federal civil service and what have you doing the right thing for the development of the country? Can we also see the judiciary, as it were, doing its best towards seeing that, you know, justice which is blind is meted out to whoever deserves to get justice? The bottom line is that we live in a country that can indeed become the synogia of the world. Our potentials are daring. Our potentials are very, very cogent. But, as I always say, beyond whoever is sitting at the helm of affairs is also the Nigerian. The Nigerian here is you and I. I get to hear very funny things when people say, oh, Nigeria happened to me. In most instances, this Nigeria that you are saying happened to you happened because a Nigerian decided to do the wrong thing. Not because the geographical expression called Nigeria is bad. It is because a Nigerian decided to take bribe to look the other way. It's because a Nigerian decided to beat traffic light. This morning, I was taking my wife to the office, and I saw this guy in this kabu little car. He ate upper and threw out the the wrap outside. He opened another one, and you know, I was able to drive beside this guy, and I was like, why are you littering the streets? Because I take things like that personal. You know what the guy told me? That after all, we are the people paying for the people who clean the streets. So I was like, really? Is that really the kind of answer? And I went ahead to tell him, sir, you are a senior citizen. I don't expect this from you. I drove off. Can't we as a country see that Nigeria is the only country we have, and we are doing all we can to make sure that across the board we make Nigeria the synogia of the world? In terms of mineral resources, we have them. Now, let's talk about democracy. Are we practicing democracy the way democracy ought to be practiced? Can we truly say that power belongs to the people? If the power does not belong to the people, we need to be careful, because literally everything that is being said here is a red flag. We don't want it, but what if it happens? The bottom line still remains,
Don't justify it.
don't justify it. And don't justify it by doing right. Don't give it credence by pushing people to that stage where tomorrow they hear martial music on the streets and then they rush out in support. It has always been the case. It ought not to be so.
Okay, Alpha, Korea. I will take you to an area that is not the equivalent of a coup that takes place every day in Nigeria. Korea, as you and I sit now, PDP as a party that should follow process, human beings, Nigerians, politicians, that should follow a due process, that is specified due process, to arrive at an end, at a political end, have all conspired to entrench illegality, impunity, and to make it part of the political party culture, impunity. Just a minute, sir. Known to me now, since after Jonathan's first re-election bid, that Nigerians rallied and cast their ballot, every other presidential election in this country has been contentious. The Independent National Electoral Commission, in every bidder discussion in this country, has been queried, even on this program, as to whether they are independent, or is there a complete state capture, and institutions are reporting by virtue of having been compromised to certain interests.
Okay.
If we arrive at a position via this, what is the difference between it and a coup?
Well, someone somewhere said that the worst democracy is better than a military dictatorship.
Is this a democracy? The one I've described is a democracy.
You are describing a democracy
by which the institution has been captured and is not performing its functions.
Well, the truth is, there are, like I said before, 1,001 reasons to give if anybody is minded towards carrying out a coup because of institutional failures. It is not just in PDP. It is all over the place. Flagrant abuse of the Constitution is all over the place. The National Assembly cannot even organize itself. Now, the judiciary cannot be said to be doing its job, in the fear of God and in respect to the Constitution and so on. So there are a whole number of places to touch. You could reel out, you could keep reeling out these failings.
And these are paragraphs in a coup speech.
Yeah. So, but what we want to say, what I would like to say is that at least as of today, Nigeria is still work in progress, and we keep advancing towards our stated objective as a country, which is to have, like our national anthem, our renewed national anthem says, a country where no man is oppressed, for example. That is not a country we live in now. We are not living in a country where no man is oppressed. We are not living in a country let me remember the words of the national anthem. So you could, if you take that national anthem, for example, you find out that we're living just the direct opposite of every single stanza of the national anthem. So that said, I still maintain that as the worst of democracy is better than the best of military dictatorship. There is no doubt that we need to do better in our electoral system, in our process of recruiting leadership. There's a whole lot that is not correct, that is wrong with the process as it is. But truth be told, efforts have been made, progress have been recorded, and I'm looking forward to greater improvement. I hear there's a conversation in the National Assembly whether there's a bill, that wants to make it a law, make it compulsory, well, so to speak, for results to be transmitted straight from the booth, from the ballot center, from the booth to IREV and all of them, and to strengthen the IREV, and all of those things, so that we don't have technical glitches anymore and all of those things. Those are good thoughts, towards improving our, recruitment process, our leadership recruitment process, which I think is the bane of all our efforts to make progress in this country. Because you get it wrong at that level, everything goes wrong. Just like you are saying, a state capture. Because if we keep going the route of money politics, where you have to buy votes, buy delegates, buy this, buy that, and you are spending trillions of naira or billions of dollars to become a president, question becomes, where do you even get those kind of monies from? The kind of money they spend in running election in this country. And I can't remember the last time there was fundraising, genuine fundraising
by any political party or any candidate
for campaigns. So you ask yourself, where does this volume of money
Come from
in the first instance? So we can go on and on to highlight some, these challenges. There are 1,001. There are myriads of challenges, the country is dealing with. But military coup cannot be the answer. It cannot be the solution. And that is why, like I said before, I want to say, my colleague here has said that Nigerians will normally go to the streets to drink beer and celebrate a coup speech. Once there is a martial bang, 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 there's a martial music playing on radio, Nigerians will, say, oh, But in any case, of course, nobody is generally accepted to everybody. There will be somebody somewhere who will celebrate the death of another, even when other people are saying, oh, that was a nice man or that was a nice woman. That is life for you. So, but in Nigeria, as it is today, we are a work in progress, and I want to encourage everybody, the military, the judiciary, especially the National Assembly. The National Assembly is the engine of democracy, and that is where everything is going wrong. I dare say that is where everything goes wrong, because if you cannot hold the executive to account at that level, tell me who will. If every budget cycle you just
insert project, increase the project.
I'm not even interested in certain projects. If you insert projects and you execute them judiciously, that's fine. If everybody agrees. But the fact that a ministry will come and bring bloated budgets, insert in the budgets projects that have either been completed
before,
or the ones will never be executed, and all of that, and then you gloss over that and give them a clean bill of health, and they go home, and then money is released to them,
you go back in oversight.
And then the same National Assembly, you are almost always, every other budget, you have fleet of cars running into billions of naira. What about the car you bought in the last budget cycle? Almost on yearly basis, vehicles, computers, same things. You change furniture every year, you change wardrobe every year, and all of those things. Over bloated allowances here and there. Can we not give a cannon fodder to those people who are bent on ruining Nigeria? Can we not assist people who are having other thoughts about Nigeria? Can we not, give them reasons, genuine reasons, even though we know that they are incapable of effecting any correction anywhere, but then they have genuine reasons to want to intervene. We shouldn't do that. This is where the crux is.
No, I'm coming to Alpha. But in that coup speech, which I wrote in my head, one word kept popping up: cronyism. Cronyism.
One of our major deterrents.
Cronyism. You never get anywhere by merit.
Sadly so.
You never take national decisions on merit. It is because you carried my bag as a senator. You are my elder sister's second daughter. You are my in-law. Cronyism, shoe shining, has become part of our political process, recruitment process. And a coup plotter can be irritated by the killing of merit.
The unfortunate thing is, it happens to be one of the banes of the current day society in Nigeria that we live in. Cronyism. Such tendencies have taken no one anywhere. Why? We are a heterogeneous society. The only way you can give your best back to society is by making sure that merit becomes the order of the day. And merit, as it were, is even something that can still be rationalized. But whatever you do, make sure that the best gets to see it. Democracy comes with a lot of advantages. What are some of these advantages? Accountability. Accountability in the sense that if you're in office today and you don't do the right thing, once you leave office, perhaps you're covered by immunity, you'll be called upon to come and answer for your stewardship. As we speak, the former French president, Nicolas Sarkozy, is in jail. It has happened in other places. We are yet to see it happen here. Why? Because once they are off the tail as executive governors, deputy governors and what have you, they go to hide in the Senate. I will tell you something. You see, the National Assembly in Nigeria, which is supposed to be the fulcrum of democracy, is it failing the people more so in this day? Why? Because they have largely become a rubber-stamped institution. Back in the days, you discover that, all right, one or two people, even within the same party, will wake up and say, no, this is wrong. This is not the way to go. When opposition politics was the order of the day, I mean, you and I know that there could be a yes and a no banter. Now, in a society or in a democracy that the gale of defection is becoming so worrying, we all have cause to be worried. I don't understand why you tell me I must be in the center when democracy also gives room for dissent. I mean, Chief here mentioned it. There is so much that comes with democracy. And anybody who is thinking that, oh, military rule is the way to go, oh, it has to be institutionalized, oh, it has to be this way, it has to be this way, I'm afraid it has really not worked in the past. And looking at the complexities, looking at the dynamism of our society today, I don't see it working. And hence it is in the interest of all to make sure that our democratic institutions work. We have always said that beyond that, let us also see that our institutions work. If the courts were working and they could say no to a Bola Ahmed Tinubu, as powerful as Trump looks, there are magistrate courts that have told him, Mr. President, you cannot go this way. It's not going to work. It's not in the spirit of the framers of our constitution. Why are we not seeing same in Nigeria? We live in a country where you and I know that the stomach infrastructure thing has brought everything.
How did that thing get into our lexicon?
Fayose said it.
That is his contribution.
Yes, yes, where he will.
Stomach infrastructure.
He is driving on the street. He will enter, buy amala for everybody. He believes that stomach infrastructure. That's how you deal with those sort of things. But you know, when you look at these shenanigans that happens within our, democratic institutions, it is very, very sad, because at the end of the day, you just end up recircling the same set of people that never understood what they were going into. Leadership is serious business, appointed or elective. In America, when people are about to be appointed Secretary of State, Secretary of Commerce, this and that, you go through the drilling. The National Assembly or the Congress will call you, probably sit you there for 8 hours. So, sitting you there for 8 hours and asking sometimes the same
questions, my brother.
You see somebody coming out red, then you will know that this person is ready for the what have you ahead. He was talking about our leadership recruitment process. In this democracy, is it supposed to be like that? Whatever you do, there's always suspicion. I can tell you, even what we are discussing here now, there are Nigerians out there who would think, are you sure these people were not paid to come and do this in favor of government?
I don't know about the government.
The conspiracy is always there.
Yeah, I want to see, because this cronyism which you are addressing, if the military talked about cronyism, and based on that, and they plotted a coup, what manner of military today even does Nigeria have? Once upon a time, there was a Nigerian military.
That's right.
Tough, one family, united, could die for a Nigerian nation. Today you read stories of, when they wanted to deploy me, they discovered I'm from South, and they deployed me to Goza so that Boko Haram can kill me. A soldier.
Yes.
Yeah, and that one, no, they deployed me because I'm a Christian, and they deployed me to Niger State, where Boko Haram just hoisted a flag. Is that the kind of Nigerian military that is already talking about from divided front that could contemplate a coup?
Sadly, the military itself has fallen victim to what I normally don't like to say, because I still believe Nigeria potentially stands to be the greatest nation on planet Earth. I was traveling to Kaduna one day by train, and there were these guys seated in front of me. Apparently, they happened to be middle cadre military officers. And one of them, his promotion was because he didn't pass. He was telling the other guy that he called his emir, and the emir called somebody, and his promotion came out. And sincerely, what came to my mind was, really? Even in the military, this happens? But you see, I will also tell you, the military still remains one of the most disciplined institutions. Nobody is saying that those things don't happen. They do happen. But give and take. They still give credence to standards. Even if they do it, they don't do it with the level of recklessness that politicians do. I mean, if you're a politician in this country, know that power may reside in your hand, but the power actually belongs to the people. The whole idea is that, I have said it at other fora, I have said it here, the bottom line remains that you coming to power, you are actually coming to serve. But the average politician today sees power as a way of serving himself and his cronies, his family. That is what comes first. That is why a man will sit down and, primitively aggrandize the kind of wealth he knows in a lifetime he will never need, and even for generations to come. That ought not to be so. We need to have a change of attitude. We need to see to the fact that, it's not enough to say, oh, I'm implementing Sharia. Since you implemented Sharia, have children stopped going to bed hungry? These are some of the things that as a country we need to rise up to. Nigeria, we can be the best. Why are we not the best?
Okay, Alpha, Andy, do you have aught to add?
There will always be things to add, actually. The topic that you introduced actually has a lot of legs. Actually, a lot of things have come up that maybe subsequently we'll have to interrogate them. For me, I love saying, and I've always said it over and over, that everything rises and falls with leadership. When Jardine was talking, he talked about, which you raised before, the military, how people get promoted and all that and all that. There's another dimension that maybe we don't have the time now to go into it. All of us here went to school at a point when you come to the class, you are going to find the children of the middle class. You are going to find those ones who you know that they come from very poor background, because invariably a student that actually was wearing like a shirt every week or every other day. But you know that quite a number of those, you are very bright students. Then you are also going to have the children who the parents are on the top side of this and other. Everybody congregated, having gained the admission and passed. Do you know that in this society today, that's why I say we have to discuss this another day. Getting admission into the universities, getting admission to study law, to study medicine, to study engineering, study all those things, are no longer accessible to the children of the poor.
Yeah.
Because they are all allocated to politicians.
As I'm sitting here to get admission for one of my boys, I've been told that the least I'll pay is 800,000 naira.
That's the cheap. That's cheap. If you want to study law or study professional courses, you are talking about paying 5 million, 6 million. You can't go to study medicine. But we know that there are kids that came from very poor background that actually. So how does a society want to develop and rise when you have practically closed the door? For ordinary people, everything now to get admission, you are not going to go because they are allocated to the politicians and whatever. You have to have a paper from presidency or from National Assembly admission. You don't come to get work employment after that. Of course, you cannot. You work in FRC, CBN, whatever it is, it must have to be allocated. So you come to this society and you look at it and you are really frightened about what the leadership had done to this society. We are saying that because for those of us, and I guess virtually everybody here, who probably came out of the so-called middle class before and every other thing, like I said, that didn't save you from working hard, He didn't say
whatever you're right to get admission.
But like I said, in the class, you also knew those who came from
lower background.
Everybody was the same thing. It didn't make any difference. People passed. But just the other day I was discussing with somebody, and that was I was alarmed that you can't even get kids go to gain admission now to study architecture, to study engineering, unless you pay for it. So what's the prospect? Where are we going? So when we come tomorrow and they are telling us that it's a new, I'm sorry, it cuts across all the political parties. But if you talk about a new, what is the new agenda or the new hope agenda, that renewed hope should be a renewed hope for the poor, so that they can also get up.
Because the majority.
They are in the majority, and we need to carry everybody along. I am alarmed. If I have my own kids and I can afford to set them up at the level where they are, whatever, what about the other ones that probably are not at the level where they are?
That is for a thinking society.
What's this?
What we are trying to do this morning is to tell the coup plotter to write your script. This is your speech. But please, in advance, Mr. Politician, what we've done is to show you the coup speech that was not plotted, that was not executed. But I will have people have a saying that a war foretold does not claim the cripple. When a war has been announced, the cripple quickly leaves that vicinity and doesn't become a victim. If I written the coup plotter's speech, please change your ways so that you are not the people helping to provide the facts contained in the speech, for which the ordinary citizen will run in the street and welcome the coup plotter. We don't accept there has been a coup in Nigeria. There has been professional indiscipline, for which 42 officers are in detention, for which a former governor has escaped from the country. But just in case some people are thinking that way, these are the things likely to be in their speech. Will there be false accusations? We are telling our national leadership and our politicians and our political class, please put a lie to the content of this speech, so that we have removed the wind of their sail even before they embark on a journey. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. It's a critical national assignment. We discharge it every morning, day after day. And we thank you for investing your time with us on today's edition. Corey, thank you very much.
My pleasure, always.
Andy, thanks a lot. Alpha,
That conclusion only could have come from none other.
my name is Mwagbozen Joko.
That's right.
Good morning.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
Bright and early as the day breaks, as the newspaper headlines trail the stories that shape the day, we at Signature TV trail the headlines that trail the day. We interrogate the headlines. We analyze the stories that make the headlines.
Wayek is overrated. And they even overrated themselves and went into CBT. They are insensitive of some Nigerian children who have never had what they call CBT.
With passion and emotion, we drive the conversation to change a narrative.
Let nobody be deceived by Nigerian high level of performing in agriculture export. We are still where we are.
Newspaper review on Signature TV every morning on Signature Morning, weekdays, and Signature News.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
I request protocol to escort Her Excellency and invite her to address the Assembly.
Thank you, Madam President. When the founders of the UN convened 8 years ago, they did so to establish an organization, among others, to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war, to reaffirm faith in fundamental human rights, dignity of human person, and equal rights of men and women, and of nations, large and small, and to lay the groundwork for a durable system that promotes justice and respect for the obligations arising from treaties and international laws. While over the following decades, we have become closer to the brink of war, the United Nations has stood the test of time, from decolonization to promoting the right to self-determination, from conflict prevention and securing peace to the provision of humanitarian assistance. The UN has continued to fulfill its founding mandate under very difficult circumstances. Therefore, the international community must honor the brave men and women who, under the blue flag, have been at the forefront in the securing of world peace. Namibia's journey to independence is one of the UN's most successful stories. It was through this very organization that our forebears tirelessly petitioned for the end of apartheid, colonial rule in Namibia, for freedom and independence of our country. At this point, I want to thank the UN family for having held a special session in remembrance of our founding president, Comrade Sam Safishuna Nujoma, when he passed on. Madam President, my personal journey with the United Nations begins in 1974, where I have had the privilege to serve my country and Africa in various capacities within the halls of this distinguished global organ. Today, I am deeply honored and humbled to stand before you as the 5th President of the Republic of Namibia with a mandate to deliver services and to ensure justice of all inhabitants of our country. As a woman, I encourage every girl and woman by affirming that your voice matters, your vision is needed, as it will pave you a way to the helm of whatever institution you are serving. Madam President, Namibia's 8th administration is built on the strong foundation and legacy of our predecessors. Under the theme, Unity in Diversity, Natural Resources Beneficiation, and Youth Empowerment, for sustainable development. That theme aims to shape and transform the Namibian economy through value addition and other economic activities. Hence, we have identified agriculture, sports, youth empowerment, education and training, creative industry, health services, land and housing as critical sectors supported by mining, energy, water, tourism, infrastructure development, transport, logistics, to sustain our economic development through our long-term development blueprint, Vision 2030. This vision is being implemented through a series of national development plans, NDPs. Recently, we launched the 6th NDP with its fundamental pillars clearly aligned to the global agenda, such as the SADC Regional Inductive Strategic Development Plan, the African Union Agenda 2063, and the UN Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development. Some of our achievements include the launch and the operationalization of the National Youth Fund, which is to assist young entrepreneurs in their economic activities. In the area of education, we will abolish registration and tuition fees in all public institutions of higher learning and vocational training centers to ensure skill development. On energy, Namibia is diversifying her energy mix using all our natural resources. In addition, Namibia presented her energy compact at the African Energy Forum, thus enabling us to access concessional funding for national energy initiatives. Madam President, climate change is scorching our lands and drying up our rivers. Global instability is impacting our economies, our markets, and jeopardizing our livelihood. These are interconnected symptoms of deeper fragility in our shared system. They require our collective action rooted in apathy and shared responsibility. In this regard, I am glad to announce Namibia's bid to host the Africa Regional Hub of the Green Climate Fund. Furthermore, severe droughts, floods, and other climatics brought about by climate change cannot be overemphasized. Namibia calls for the implementation of the provision of the Namib Declaration on a strong United Nations Convention to combat desertification for a land degradation and neutral world. Namibia acknowledges the technological advance in all fields, but ethical boundaries must be respected. However, artificial intelligence must not be a substitute for human judgment or responsibility. We therefore call for a global standard that ensures that the usage of artificial intelligence remains transparent, fair for humanity. Youth unemployment, increased economic inequality, lack of adequate housing, quality education and health care, water, energy, and debt distress are among the common challenges that no one country can address alone. Through multilateral cooperation, our collective action must ensure that we all forge ahead to make the world a better place and to work together on those challenges in line with our theme, Better Together. Madam President, 30 years since the adoption of the Beijing Declaration and Platform of Action, we have made much to celebrate and to ponder on. Namibia continues to make progress in the area of women participation in politics and decision making. Currently, Namibia's cabinet has 57% of women. As we gear up to commemorate the 25th anniversary of the adoption of the UN Security Council Resolution 1325 on women, peace and security, adopted during Namibia's presidency of the UN Security Council, Namibia will host 2 high-level events in Windhoek and New York. I look forward to the participation of all member states in those events to collectively reaffirm commitment to women, peace and security agenda. And through the Namibia International Women Peace Center, we will continue to advocate for the universal implementation of the Women, Peace and Security agenda. Madam President, we know to the ongoing efforts of the UN to ensure that we remain fit for purpose, including the UN 8 initiative. We need an agile United Nations that is inclusive, respect of the UN Charter, and its purpose and principles must be our guiding star for our future endeavors. Madam President, we are meeting against a backdrop of profound global tension. The world is fractured by conflict, displacement, and economic instabilities straining multilateral cooperation and a serious issue for us to reach consensus. A global liquidity crisis threatens to plunge millions of people into poverty and insecurity. For Namibia, those crises are real. They impact our communities, test the resilience of our ecosystem, thus need urgent attention. In this context, the Southern Africa Development Community is committed to promoting peace, security, and stability in the Eastern DRC. Namibia welcomes the ongoing efforts by the AU, SADC, and AC to align the Rwanda and Nairobi peace process and encourage the continued strengthening of political and security aspects of the challenges faced in our region. We further call upon UN Security Council and good office of the UN Secretary General to strengthen negotiation and peacekeeping initiatives towards resolutions of all conflict, including those in different parts of Africa. The impasse in the UN security over the question of Western Sahara is an injustice. More than 34 years after the adoption of the Resolution 690 of 1991, the time for the holding of the UN referendum on the right to self-determination for the people of Western Sahara is now. This year marks the 20th anniversary of the Ezuwine Consensus and the Third Declaration, which jointly constitute the common African position on the reform of the UN Security Council. We acknowledge the support from all interested groups for the common African position, which culminated in the recognition of Africa as a priority and a special case in the reform process, as reflected in the outcome documents of relevant United Nations process, including the Pact for the Future. We can no longer delay the urgent call to redress the historical injustice to Africa and address our call for equitable and balanced representation on the Security Council. Madam President, the Charter of the United Nations has laid the foundation for conditions necessary for peaceful coexistence and harmony among nations. Therefore, unilateral cohesive measures should not be used as a tool to undermine sovereign state, for this violates the Charter and the principle of the United Nations. In this regard, we call for an end to the continued illegal economic, financial, and commercial embargo imposed on the friendly people of Cuba and removing her from the list of states sponsoring terrorism. We call for an end to the illegal sanctions on Zimbabwe. We are also gravely concerned about the emerging threats against Venezuela and call for the removal of sanctions and the threats against that country. Madam President, the UN Commission of Inquiry on the occupied Palestine territory, including Israel, Eastern Jerusalem, has just released its findings that indeed a genocide is being committed against the Palestine people. Despite the clear provision of the Security Council and General Assembly resolutions and advisory opinion rendered by the international community of justice, the humanitarian situation in Gaza is worsening, and access to humanitarian aid is severely limited. A failure to address the crisis in Gaza could become the moral failure that defines this era. We call on the UN Security Council to find consensus and help put an end to the lasting conflict between Israel and Palestine. Madam President, I call for a meaningful reform of the United Nations as a call for the meaningful reform of the United Nations has never been more urgent. This reform necessitated democratizing global governance, amplifying marginalized voices, and ensuring international law is not a tool for convenience, but a shield for most vulnerable. As I conclude, I wish to reaffirm Namibia's commitment to the international obligation and the multilateral order. Respect for international law is not just a legal duty, it's a moral imperative. We must reaffirm our commitment to the principle that unite us, mutual respect, and peaceful resolution of dispute, and solidarity in the face of common challenge. Let us remember that even the smallest nation have a voice. When those voices are heard and heeded, durable peace and justice will prevail. We have an obligation to make this our moment, not to despair, but renewal. We have the opportunity to restore hope, to build a future defined not only by division, but by unity and preservation of human dignity. I thank you for your kind attention.
On behalf of the Assembly, I wish to thank the President of the Republic of Namibia.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
The Assembly will hear an address by His Excellency Masoud Pezeshkian, President of the Islamic Republic of Iran. I request protocol to escort His Excellency and invite him to address the Assembly.
In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful, Mr. Secretary General, Madam President, distinguished representatives, ladies and gentlemen, the theme of this year, and I quote, "Better Together, 80 years and more of peace, development, and human rights," unquote, is in truth a summons to solidarity and to a shared vision of a brighter future. Our religious conviction, as well as the call of the prophets, rests upon the equality of the rights of all human beings. That which renders man more worthy is piety, namely truthfulness, wisdom, purity, and benevolence. The bedrock of all divine religions and of the human conscience is this golden maxim, that which you would not approve for yourself, do not approve for others. Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, once said, "Act towards others as you would have them act towards you." The Prophet of Islam, peace be upon him, said, "None of you is a true believer unless he desires for others what he desires for himself." The sage Hillel, the elder, expressed the essence of the Torah as such: "That which is hateful unto thee, do not do unto thy fellow." In the traditions of the Orient, likewise, the central teaching is this very principle, and secular schools of ethics grounded in reason and conscience have arrived at the same conclusion. Excellencies, is this the state of our world? Let us behold the past 2 years. The world in these 2 years was witness to genocide in Gaza, was witness to the destruction of homes and repeated violation of sovereignty and territorial integrity in Lebanon, was witness to the devastation of Syria's infrastructure, was witness to assault against the people of Yemen, was witness to the forced starvation of emaciated children in the arms of their mothers, was witness to the assassination of Iran's scientists, was witness to the surreptitious raids infringing upon the sovereignty of nations, violating the territorial integrity of states, and openly targeting leaders of people. And all of this under the full support of the most heavily armed regime in the face of the earth, and under the pretext of self-defense. Would you countenance of mankind? Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, you all bore witness that this past June, my country was subjected to a savage aggression in flagrant contravention of the most elementary principles of international law. The aerial assaults of the Zionist regime and the United States of America against Iran's cities, homes, and infrastructures, precisely at a time when we were treading the path of diplomatic negotiations, constituted a grave betrayal of diplomacy and a subversion of efforts towards the establishment of stability and peace. This brazen act of aggression, in addition to martyring a number of commanders, citizens, children, women, scientists, and intellectual elites of my country, inflicted a grievous blow upon international trust and the very prospect of peace in the region. Should we fail to confront such perilous breaches of international norms, these aberrations shall spread to engulf the world. The assault upon nuclear facilities under safeguards and international supervision, the open attempt to assassinate leaders and duly constituted officials of UN member states, the systematic targeting of journalists and members of the press, and the killing of human beings who solely by the reason of their knowledge and expertise are converted into military targets. Again, would you countenance such acts for yourselves? With this behavior, they have killed at the very least over 35,000 innocent civilians in Gaza. They have deprived them of food, drinking water, medication, and proper health care. Those who have perpetrated such crimes This nation, with a magnanimous spirit and the systematic targeting of journalists and members of the press, and the killing of human beings who solely by the reason of their knowledge and expertise are converted into military targets. Again, would you countenance such acts for yourselves? Those who have perpetrated such crimes must know that Iran, the most ancient continuous civilization upon the face of the earth, has ever stood steadfast against the tempests of history. This nation, with a magnanimous spirit and an eternal will, has time and again demonstrated that it shall never bow before aggressors. And today as well, in the face of the transgressors, it stands upright with reliance upon the power of faith and its national cohesion. In this 12-day defense, the patriotic and valiant people of Iran laid bare before the aggressors the fallacy and self-delusion of their arrogant calculations. The enemies of Iran unwittingly fortified the sacred national unity. The people of Iran, despite the most severe, protracted, and crushing economic sanctions, psychological and media warfare, and persistent efforts to sow discord, at the very instant the first bullet was fired upon their soil, rose in unison in support of their valiant armed forces, and today they continue to honor the blood of their martyrs. Here, in the name of all Iranian people, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all personalities, nations, governments, and international and regional organizations that stood in solidarity with Iran during this war. Ladies and gentlemen, today, after nearly 2 years of genocide, mass starvation, the perpetuation of apartheid within the occupied territories, and aggression against its neighbors, the ludicrous and delusional scheme of a greater Israel is being proclaimed with brazenness by the highest echelons of that regime. The scheme encompasses vast swaths of the region. The map itself lays bare the true intentions of the Zionist regime, intentions that have, of late, been openly endorsed by its criminal prime minister. None in the world is secure from the aggressive machinations of this regime. It is manifest that the Zionist regime and its sponsors no longer even content themselves with normalization through political means. Rather, they impose their presence through naked force and have styled it peace through strength. Yet, this is neither peace nor power. It is nothing but aggression rooted in coercion and bullying. But we envision our powerful Iran alongside powerful neighbors within a strong region with a radiant future. A future in which we stand together against a grand project that imposes genocide, destruction, and instability upon the region. A future in which collective security is assured through genuine mechanisms of defensive cooperation and joint response to threats. A future in which human dignity and cultural diversity are cherished as foundational values. A future in which collective development is realized through joint investment in infrastructure and modern sciences. A future in which energy security and the equitable use of vital resources from the pillars of economic stability. A future in which the environment is safeguarded for posterity. A future in which national sovereignty and the territorial integrity of states are regarded as non-negotiable principles. A future not in pursuit of peace imposed by force, but founded upon strength derived through peace. In such a strong region, slaughter and bloodshed shall find no place. It is for this very reason that my country has, for many years, been among the staunchest advocates of establishing a region free of weapons of mass destruction. Yet those who themselves possess the largest nuclear arsenals and who, in flagrant breach of the NPT, make their weapons even deadlier and more destructive, have for years subjected our people to pressures on the basis of spurious allegations. Last week, 3 European states, having failed through a decade of bad faith and thereafter by supporting military aggression to bring the proud people of Iran to their knees, at the behest of the United States of America, sought by means of pressure, coercion, imposition, and manifest abuse to reinstate against Iran the Security Council resolutions that had already been terminated. In doing so, they set aside good faith. They circumvented legal obligations. They sought to portray Iran's lawful remedial measures taken in response to the United States' withdrawal from the JCPOA and to Europe's breach and utter incapacity as a gross violation. They falsely presented themselves as parties of good standing to the agreement, and they disparaged Iran's sincere efforts as insufficient. All of this was in pursuit of nothing less than the destruction of the very JCPOA, which they themselves had once held as the foremost achievement of multilateral diplomacy. This unlawful measure, which has also met the opposition of certain members of the Security Council, possesses no international legitimacy and will not garner the approbation of the international community. I hereby declare once more before this assembly that Iran has never sought and will never seek to build a nuclear bomb. We do not seek nuclear weapons. This is our belief based on the edict issued by the supreme leader and by religious authorities. Therefore, we never sought weapons of mass destruction, nor will we ever seek them. Whereas those who disturb the peace and stability in the region lies in Israel, but Iran is the one that is being punished for those actions. There is a poem that roughly says something to the effect that someone in one side of the world does something to disturb the peace and someone else is punished for those actions. Ladies and gentlemen, the Islamic Republic of Iran welcomes peace and stability. We believe that the future of our region and of the world must be built upon cooperation, trust, and shared development. In this framework, Iran supports the peace process between the Republic of Azerbaijan and the Republic of Armenia and hopes that its outcome shall be enduring and serve as a foundation for improved relations between these two neighboring states. Iran also hopes that the efforts to bring an end to the war in Ukraine may result in a just and lasting agreement between Russia and Ukraine and bring solace to the human suffering caused by this crisis. Iran welcomes the defensive pact between the two brotherly Muslim countries, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, as a beginning for a comprehensive regional security system with the cooperation of the Muslim states of West Asia in the political, security, and defense domains. Finally, Iran condemns the criminal aggression of the Israeli regime against Qatar, which resulted in the martyrdom of a number of Palestinian and Qatari nationals, and declares its support and solidarity with the government and people of Qatar. Ladies and gentlemen, true security is not achieved through force, but through confidence building, mutual respect, regional convergence, and multilateralism grounded in international laws. Based on this foundation, a call upon all to practice listening to one another instead of raising voices, to re-examine the intellectual premises of polarization and political violence, which today ensnares not only the international community, but also renders societies internally with tension and turmoil. To uphold as the common denominator of all beliefs and cultures the principles that whatever we do not approve for ourselves, we should not impose upon others, instead of distorting concepts and narratives with biased interpretations. To restore and rehabilitate the credibility of international laws, institutions, and mechanisms, and to commit to the establishment of a regional system of security and cooperation in West Asia. Ladies and gentlemen, we Iranians have extended our power in the world not by producing and employing nuclear weapons, nor by the slaughter of hundreds of thousands in the 20th century, nor by genocide and the imposition of starvation upon the children in Gaza in the 21st century, and not even through the historic empires of Iran, but rather through a culture of human fellowship and the message of empathy of universal sages such as Rumi, Hafiz, Saadi, who 8 centuries ago declared, "Human beings are members of a whole, in creation of one essence and soul. If one member is inflicted with pain, other members uneasy will remain. If you have no sympathy for human pain, the name of human you cannot pertain. Those criminals who bully by murdering children are not worthy of the name human being, and assuredly they shall never prove to be trustworthy partners." Relying upon its time-honored tradition of altruism and human fellowship, Iran is a steadfast partner and a trustworthy companion for all peace-seeking countries, a friendship and a partnership grounded not in fleeting expediency, but in dignity, trust, and a shared future. We, the upright people of Iran, by standing firm against lawless marauders, have surmounted with honor the injustices, discriminations, and double standards imposed upon us. And today, with an opportunity-oriented outlook, we have transformed this historic achievement of the Iranian people into a platform for a leap toward a hopeful future. Let us together with you turn threats into opportunities. I thank you.
On behalf of the Assembly, I wish to thank the President of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The Assembly will hear an address by
This is Diaspora 5, where we spotlight bold voices and African excellence across Europe and America. Big wins, big vibes, fired every week, just for you. Across Europe and America, a vibrant story is unfolding. From the boardrooms to the dance floors, from red carpet premieres to cultural festivals, Nigerians and Africans in the diaspora are making waves. I am Ike Udechime. Join me as we highlight the voices and victories of Africans living in the diaspora. Welcome to Diaspora 5, where home meets the world.
New every morning on Signature TV, we open the day for you with needed energy, information, and required vibes to shape your day. From sizzling snippets of stories in various areas of life to intriguing conversations with net worth guests.
When you have people who have no track record becoming your leaders, you have a problem. There's no outstanding gratuity when Obi took over from me. I left in all the accounts of Anambra State 13.8 billion for him.
Your day cannot be complete without Signature Morning on weekdays and Signature New Day on weekends. There is no better way to start your day except Signature Morning and Signature New Day every day on Signature TV.
Get plugged into the heartbeat of entertainment on The Hub, your ultimate show on eVibes. From trending stories and social media drama to top charting music, must-watch movies and exciting moments from the world of arts, we've got it all. Join us for unmissable conversations with your favorite entertainment personalities, plus fun segments every week.
So I should try harder. So
okay, I don't know that one.
Outfit of the day.
Oh, I don't do that. That's some Gen Z stuff.
Oh, now you say it's a Gen Z stuff.
It's everything you love about entertainment, served fresh every week at 1 p.m. with weekend repeats just in case you missed it. The Hub's on eVibes, where the vibes never stop. Only on Signature TV.
Signature TV. News in your pocket.
Good afternoon, welcome to E-Vibes, the entertainment show on Signature TV, where we tend to give you interesting stories from the world of art, fashion, music, movie, and of course dramas that are buzzing up on social media. I'm your baby girl, Queenette Wokunta. I have interesting stories for you today, and of course we'll be reviewing the Davido concert to you again. And we'll have a distinguished guest who will be...
This is Diaspora 5, where we spotlight bold voices and African excellence across Europe and America. Big wins, big vibes, fired every week, just for you. Across Europe and America, a vibrant story is unfolding. From the boardrooms to the dance floors, from red carpet premieres to cultural festivals, Nigerians and Africans in the diaspora are making waves. I am Ike Udechime. Join me as we highlight the voices and victories of Africans living in the diaspora. Welcome to Diaspora 5, where home meets the world.
New every morning on Signature TV, we open the day for you with needed energy, information, and required vibes to shape your day. From sizzling snippets of stories in various areas of life to intriguing conversations with net worth guests.
When you have people who have no track record becoming your leaders, you have a problem. There's no outstanding gratuity when Obi took over from me. I left in all the accounts of Anambra State 13.8 billion for him.
Your day cannot be complete without Signature Mornings on weekdays and Signature New Day on weekends. There is no better way to start your day except Signature Morning and Signature New Day every day on Signature TV.
Get plugged into the heartbeat of entertainment on The Hub, your ultimate show on E-Vibes. From trending stories and social media drama to top charting music, must-watch movies and exciting moments from the world of arts, we've got it all. Join us for unmissable conversations with your favorite entertainment personalities, plus fun segments every week.
I should try harder, so...
Okay, I don't know that one.
Outfit of the day.
Oh, I don't do that. That's some Gen Z stuff.
Oh, now you say it's a Gen Z stuff.
It's everything you love about entertainment, served fresh every week at 1 p.m. with weekend repeats just in case you missed it. The Hub's on E-Vibes, where the vibes never stop. Only on Signature TV.
Signature TV. News in your pocket. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
I'm not bothered about the existence of law. I'm only bothered about the willing power of the power that be to fight and eradicate corruption, which is a constitutional duty. But are we doing so? My answer is yes, because the anti-corruption agencies appears to be hamstrung by so many factors, including political factors, interference from those who ought not to interfere with the job of the anti-corruption agencies. Anti-corruption agencies have the power to call for any documents, and I think that they are doing that job and doing it well, but the end product of the efforts they put and the way some power that be interfere with the system and make the independent institution not independent.
Signature TV. News.
Welcome to Global News on Signature TV. I am Uchenna Chimbi Oluoha. In the headlines, Presidential Committee inspects dilapidated police training school in Rivers. INEC begins distribution of sensitive materials ahead of Saturday's Anambra governorship poll. Cameroon swears in world's oldest president after disputed vote. UN Security Council removes sanctions on Syria's president and interior minister. Details shortly.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking. Events occur and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
Presidential Committee on the Overhaul and Revamp of Training Institutions for Security Agencies has pledged to produce a comprehensive plan for the full rehabilitation of the country's security training facilities. Committee Chairman and Governor of ENUGU State, Peter Mba, gave the assurance during an inspection of the abandoned Nigeria Police Training School in Nonwatai, River State on Thursday. Accompanied by River State Governor Similai Fubara, the team also included Ogun State Governor Dapo Abiodun, former Inspector General of Police Usman Alkali Baba, and Assistant Inspector General Olatunji Disu. The visit, part of a nationwide assessment, followed President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's directive to urgently evaluate and restore all police and NSCDC training institutions. The committee met a deplorable sight: vandalized buildings, damaged classrooms, and overgrown parade grounds. Governor Mba said the team is working with consultants to prepare a detailed bill of quantities for the nationwide refurbishment project, stressing that the president's initiative shows his determination to strengthen national security through proper training and infrastructure renewal.
You may already know that there has been an approval by Mr. President to recruit 30,000 new personnel for the police force, and there is no way that recruitment would happen if we do not have a training ground for these men and women that protect our communities. So what we have come here to do is an on-the-spot assessment, some kind of finding. We already have reports of all the state of the training institutions, both for the police and the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps across the country. And this intervention is also meant to be nationwide. That was the explicit mandate of the president.
Governor Fubara described the inspection as a crucial step toward restoring professionalism and morale within the police force, noting that President Tinubu's action underscores his commitment to improving national security.
What is important here is that the president has come out to make a bold statement that he wants the police officers that will be trained, that will be engaged, to come out professionally. And I strongly believe that with the situation of our country today, it is not a mere talking. He meant every word he has said. Let me also add here, it's not just about putting the facilities together.
Governor Dapo Abiodun revealed that the committee has only 1 month to submit its report, adding that members have been divided into northern and southern teams to fast-track the process.
Is to commend Mr. President. He's been in office 2 years, 3-4 months, and with all that he has going on, he's considered this an extreme priority. He's trying to ensure that we have socio-economic stability. But he's also recognized that we cannot achieve all his macroeconomic policies desired without this very key enabler, which is provision of security. You cannot achieve provision of security if you don't have motivated law enforcement officers. And of course, the policemen are the ones that are boots on the ground, that are in charge of internal security.
The Nonwatai Police Training School, established in the 1970s, last trained recruits in 2022. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has approved the establishment of the Federal University of Science and Technology at Lagos State, effectively ending the 7-year ban on creating new tertiary institutions. Announcing the approval during Thursday's plenary, Senate President Godswill Akpabio said the president has signed the Federal University of Science and Technology Ekpe Establishment Bill 2025 into law. He explained that the Senate had earlier transmitted the authenticated version of the bill to the president, who returned 2 certified copies bearing his signature, formally completing the process. Akpabio commended President Tinubu for his continued investment in education, describing the move as a clear demonstration of his commitment to expanding access to quality specialized learning across Nigeria. Senate leader Opeyemi Bamidele, who sponsored the bill, said the university will focus on disciplines such as mechanical, electrical, civil and computer engineering, software engineering, artificial intelligence and data science, fields crucial to driving innovation and digital growth in the country. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has congratulated veteran journalist and former presidential spokesman Dr. Reuben Abati on his 60th birthday, describing him as a distinguished public intellectual and patriotic voice in Nigeria's media landscape. In a statement personally signed by the president on Friday, Tinubu praised Abati, whom he affectionately called Ruby, for his versatility, excellence and enduring contributions to journalism, public communication and governance. The president commended Abati's insightful writings, incisive commentary and engaging television analysis, noting that his work continues to inform and inspire public discourse across the nation. Tinubu also celebrated the unveiling of Abati's 3 new books, Portraits, People, Politics and Society, A Love Letter and Other Stories, and How Goodluck Jonathan Became President, launched as part of activities marking his 60th birthday. Born on November 7, 1965, Abati is a respected columnist and television anchor with Arise News Channel. He previously served as deputy governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) in Ogun State during the 2019 elections. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has begun distributing sensitive and non-sensitive materials to various local government areas ahead of Saturday's November 8th election in Anambra State. The exercise took place on Thursday at the Central Bank of Nigeria office in Awka under the supervision of the resident electoral commissioner, Dr. Queen Elizabeth Agu, amid tight security. Party agents were also present at the CBN branch to monitor the distribution process conducted by INEC officials under the watchful eyes of security operatives. Dr. Agu explained that the sensitive materials, including the bimodal voter accreditation system, forms EC8A and EC8B, are being dispatched to the registration area centers in preparation for the poll. Speaking with journalists during the exercise, the REC said the early distribution was to ensure that voting commences as scheduled on election day and to prevent any delays in the process. She urged residents to come out in large numbers to vote, dismissing fears that their votes would not count or that outcomes were already predetermined. Earlier in the news, Professor Ernest Anuche from the Center for Democracy and Development and a member of the West Africa Election Analysis Center shared his expert analysis on the Anambra election, offering insights into the electoral process and key developments ahead of the poll.
Professor, good morning and welcome to the news.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It's really great to have you with us this morning. Now, as someone who is on ground right now in Awka to witness the election, what is your assessment of preparations for this election of the people of Anambra State?
Yeah, from what I saw yesterday, the preparation is on top gear. INEC is preparing, and security agencies have been moved from different parts of the country to Anambra State. According to official release, about 450,000 policemen and other members of security agencies. And then people are also, discussing in groups about the elections, and political parties also, preparing. And you can see most of the hotels in the capital city are booked. So I think preparation is on top here.
All right, thank you so much. Professor, Anambra has the record of being one of the states with the lowest turnout in elections. What do you think is responsible for this? And also, what are the likelihoods to see an improvement this time around?
Okay, in 2021, there was just about 10% voters turnout. So there is actually the phenomenon of voter apathy in Anambra State. And I think what is the major factor responsible for this is the erosion of confidence in the electoral process. And after the 2023 elections, I think that erosion of confidence has even deepened more, especially in the Southeast. So I don't think there would be likely any different this time around.
All right, then, what advice do you have for the new INEC chairman, talking about Professor Joash Amopiton, and other stakeholders going into the elections to rebuild the confidence of Nigerians?
Is to make sure that votes count, and then to keep on, pushing the voter education, enlightening the people, voters, and in terms of why it's necessary for people to vote, and also making sure that, very importantly, making sure that this time around that the votes count. That's the only way to bring back the confidence in the electoral process.
All right, thank you so much, Professor Anoche, for joining us this morning on the news. We look forward to getting
are still expressing their views on the spate of defections of opposition politicians to the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC. Those who spoke to correspondent Williams Ucheowaji in Port Harcourt, the River State capital, expressed fears that the drift to a one-party state may deny Nigerians the full benefits of a true democracy.
In what many see as a growing political trend, more governors and key political figures have continued to defect to the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC. The last to decamp was Bayelsa State helmsman Doye Diri, following Peter Mba of ENUGU State, while Taraba State Governor Akpo Kefas is on the wings to say goodbye to the PDP. The recent defections have shifted the political landscape, tilting power heavily toward the APC, which supporters argued strengthens governance by uniting interests under one umbrella. But critics warn it could weaken opposition voices, reduce checks and balances, and edge the country closer to a one-party system and eventually stifle democratic competition and accountability. A security expert and public affairs analyst, Jackson Lekon Oju, condemned in strong terms the massive defections to APC, which he described as unfortunate and capable of taking the nation to a state of anarchy if not checked. Ojo said that democracy is not about the politically privileged few, but about the masses, saying the defections have demonstrated the level of greed and lack of respect for the party that brought such people to power.
Number one thing is because these people are not principled. The people that are decamping, they are not principled. Number two, they don't have respect for those people that has elected them into office. Number three, is the issue of corruption. Possibly the ruling party is kind of flashing at them their corrupt document. And the only way they can be forgiven, whatever offense you commit, that immediately you join the APC, your sin will be forgiven.
He also decried the threat by some governors against those who fail to decamp along with them, which he said is a denial of their fundamental human rights and breach of the Constitution.
Why is it threat? If you are no longer comfortable and I'm comfortable, why not let us work together? Because the state belongs to all of us. So all these things, they are kind of threat to democratic principles. And when people no longer have trust in democracy, what do you think people will do? Then people will take to self-help, and self-help will never be positive anywhere in the world.
National President, South-South Youth Initiative, and a political affairs analyst, Imiabe Victor Oscar, also warned against a drift to one-party system. He condemned the way and manner the ruling All Progressives Congress is dealing with the opposition parties in the country, saying that a true democracy thrives in opposition.
It's against the constitution that once you are defecting from party A to party B, automatically the constitution says that you will lose your position or you will lose your mandate. That is the expectation. So ordinary, the people of Bayelsa and the legislature, if not that they have all joined hands to join the governor Donyediri to APC, they were all supposed to work currently with the deputy governor that have refused to defect. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And that's why we say that we are not practicing a true democracy in this country. That's why I said we don't have democratic system of governance in our country. That's why we are also saying that our Nigerian constitution and our rule of law is not being respected, not just by the citizens of this country, but also by those in the principal office.
Convener of Rivers Peace Initiative, Obinna Ebogidi, also noted that the spate of defections to the ruling party runs counter to the ethics and principles of true democracy. Ebogidi called on the politicians and public office holders to be more people-oriented and purposeful in pursuing political power by allowing viable opposition to thrive.
Ordinarily, it's something that should be condemnable because we need a very vibrant opposition that should be able to put the incumbent in check. But based on this contest, then you may want to soften that rigid position. Let's see what the implication of all of this will be. But I can also tell you for free that with what we have seen based on antecedents in the country, that a governor defects to another party, whether at the center or even a smaller party, due to whatever reason, doesn't always guarantee that his people and his immediate supporters will also join him.
As the 2027 elections draw nearer, political analysts say the trend underscores the need for stronger party ideology, internal democracy, and reforms that will make politics about service, not survival. Whether these defections will bring stability or further erode the democratic space remains to be seen. What is clear, however, is that Nigeria's democracy thrives best when diverse voices are allowed to compete on a level playing field.
Osun State chapter of the All Progressives Congress, APC, and the state government have clashed over claims that Governor Ademola Adeleke is making moves to join the African Democratic Congress, ADC, ahead of the 2026 governorship election. In a statement on Thursday, the APC accused Governor Adeleke of begging and fraternizing with the ADC leadership, led by former Governor Ralph Arebeshola, allegedly in search of a platform to contest his re-election. The statement, signed by the Osun APC chairman, Tajuddin Lawal, described the alleged move as a sign of desperation and lack of honor. Lawal added that it exposed the internal crisis within the People's Democratic Party at the national level. According to APC, Adeleke's alleged attempts to reach out to Arebeshola follow the PDP's entanglement in legal and leadership disputes that might affect its documentation with the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. The statement also accused Adeleke's administration of failing to fulfill campaign promises, including job creation and affordable education, despite earning significant revenue since assuming office. However, the Osun State government, in a statement issued on Thursday by Olawale Rashid, spokesperson to the governor, swiftly dismissed the APC's claims, describing them as false, baseless, and fabricated. He insisted that he had no plans to defect to ADC or negotiate with Arebeshola. He urged members of the public to disregard the allegation, describing it as fake news from the pit of hell, and reaffirmed that Governor Adeleke remained committed to PDP. Up ahead, Deputy Speaker Carlo urges youth to engage in the ongoing constitutional review process. Abia State government kicks off campaign against fake drugs and consumables. Details of these and more after the break.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking. Events occur and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
The Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Benjamin Kalu, has called on young Nigerians to actively engage in the ongoing constitutional review process, emphasizing the importance of having youth perspectives at the center of national decision-making. He made the call when the Emerging Political Leaders Fellowship Program of the Bridge Leadership Foundation, Calabar, paid him a courtesy visit in Abuja, emphasizing that youth perspectives must be central to national decision-making. He encouraged young people to continuously improve themselves and seek knowledge to contribute meaningfully to governance.
Leadership, my young friends, is not a ceremonial title. It is the act of service, the practice of wisdom, and the courage to act in the face of uncertainty. It is tested in moments of decision, not in moments of applause. As a lawyer and a parliamentarian, I have come to understand that the power to legislate carries with it an obligation to be measured, an obligation to be principled, an obligation to be in relentless pursuit of justice. It's an obligation. And so, understanding the weight of responsibility that comes with leadership, we must now confront the reality before us that demands courage, clarity, and the engagement of Nigerians' greatest asset, the youth.
The founder of the Bridge Leadership Foundation, Liel Imoke, explained that the Emerging Political Leaders Fellowship Program in Calabar, now in its 4th year, is designed to prepare young people for leadership roles.
Our vision at the foundation was that as Nigeria evolves, we need leaders who are not just leaders by title. We need leaders who are groomed. We need leaders who understand what it means to be a leader at various levels. We need leaders who have been exposed to leadership, who have been exposed to what it takes to actually face challenges.
Participants selected from 32 states undergo 6 months of training before making a capstone presentation to graduate. The House of Representatives has launched a fresh probe into the expenditure of intervention funds dedicated to Nigeria's security architecture. The probe is informed by the persistent insecurity across the country, despite substantial budgetary allocations to the fight against insecurity. The investigation will examine how funds released since 2020 were managed by various ministries, departments, and agencies, and whether they produced measurable results in safeguarding lives and property. Speaking at the inauguration of the ad hoc committee, the Speaker Tajuddin Abbas, who was represented by the Deputy Chief Whip, Ibrahim Isiaka, said the House remained committed to accountability, transparency, and fiscal discipline in managing public resources, especially in the security sector. He noted that the security sector operates under intense public scrutiny, making it imperative that every naira spent delivers tangible progress in protecting Nigerians.
We recognize that the security sector operates under intense public scrutiny, and it is incumbent upon us to ensure that every naira spent yields tangible, observable progress in safeguarding lives and property across our great nation.
Chairman of the ad hoc committee, Zakaria Nyampa, said the probe will track total disbursements under various intervention heads, review utilization and procurement processes, and assess the impact of the spending. He stressed that the exercise is not a witch hunt, but a national duty to ensure that security funds are effectively used to strengthen national stability.
Our work will involve identifying the total funds disbursed under various intervention heads and special allocations, examine how these funds are utilized by the beneficiary agency, reviewing procurement processes and due process compliance, assessing outcome and the actual impact of such intervention on the security situation across the country. This assignment must be pursued with objectivity, diligence, patriotism and integrity. It is not a witch hunt, rather it is an effort to ensure that every naira allocated for national security achieves its intended purpose.
The committee will collaborate with key agencies, including the Ministry of Finance, Budget Office, Office of the National Security Advisor, Defense and Police Authorities, anti-graft agencies, and civil society groups to guarantee transparency, cooperation, and credibility throughout the investigation. President Bola Tinubu has pledged his administration's resolve to deepen global engagement and intensify the fight against terrorism and criminality. The president spoke shortly after an economic briefing by the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, who reported during the Federal Executive Council meeting on Thursday that the administration's reform agenda continues to stimulate investor confidence and deliver notable economic gains. The president said the government remains firmly committed to moving the country forward under the renewed hope agenda, despite prevailing political and security pressures.
The most important thing is the fact that despite the political headwind and the fear of our people, we continue to engage with our partners. The success of the 2.3 billion bond, subscription, oversubscribed, is the most at this stage. So the task ahead is immense. We are engaging the world diplomatically, and we assure all of you that we will, defeat terrorism in this country. The task ahead is immense, but it's our resolve to move forward with unity and purpose, guided by renewed hope agenda to build a prosperous, inclusive, and resilient Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Tinubu's comments came in the wake of U.S. President Donald Trump's threat last week to send U.S. forces into Nigeria with guns ablazing if Africa's most populous country does not stem what he described as the killing of Christians by Islamists. Before the meeting went into a closed session, the Coordinating Minister of the Economy and Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, informed the Council that Nigeria's return to the international capital market has drawn strong investor confidence, with a $2.35 billion Eurobond oversubscribed by 453%, attracting $13 billion in orders. He stressed the need to mobilize greater domestic and foreign investment to achieve the administration's target of a $1 trillion economy by 2030, noting that growth must reach 7% annually by 2027. Edu said the next phase of reforms would focus on removing investment bottlenecks, reviewing tariffs and import restrictions, strengthening fiscal reporting, and optimizing asset management.
Sir, we remain committed to your vision of a 1 trillion naira economy by 2030. But to achieve this, we must accelerate output to 7% per annum growth by 2027, not just as an economic target, but as a moral imperative to end poverty. Critical to attaining this growth trajectory will be attracting a necessary investment into our economy. With public investment at only 5% of GDP, we must urgently develop investment-ready projects across so many sectors that will crowd in large-scale domestic and external capital, direct investment in the economy by Nigerians as well as by foreigners. Ministers overseeing key sectors, for example, infrastructure, mining, education, health, agriculture, blue economy, digital innovation, arts and culture, must work with the subnational governments, the states, to identify and package projects that meet investor expectations. And it is likely under the policy coordination mandate, I'm sure that maybe the volume and the quality of private investment mobilized will become a key metric of the leadership, particularly in those areas.
The Abia State government has kicked off a statewide sensitization campaign against fake substandard consumables and beverages. The sensitization campaign, with the theme "No to Fake, Yes to Quality," held in Aba, is part of an effort to safeguard the health and safety of the people of the state. Director General of the Abia State Orientation Agency, organizers of the campaign, Ure Abazie, said the initiative is designed to enlighten the public, traders and manufacturers on the dangers of fake and substandard consumables and beverages. She emphasized the need for Nigerians to imbibe the culture of quality, integrity and consumer safety. Abia State Commissioner for Health, Professor ENUGU Uche, highlighted the dangers of fake and substandard drugs and beverages, describing anyone involved in the act of selling such items as a silent murderer. Professor ENUGU assured of the readiness of the state government in combating the menace and appealed to everyone to join the campaign against the sale of fake and substandard drugs.
Is death. And this happens very frequently in places where people take substandard drugs. We know of cases of people who took drugs and they just suddenly collapsed and they died. This is at the highest pole of what complications fake and substandard drugs can cause. And so those who peddle these drugs or these products are murderers.
The event had in attendance top government officials, security agents, officials from the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, as well as traditional rulers, traders, and the youth, among others. The Senate has directed the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, and other relevant regulatory bodies to strictly enforce the ban on the packaging of high-strength alcoholic beverages in sachet formats beginning December 2025. The resolution followed the adoption of a motion sponsored by Senator Asuquo Ekpeyong on the need to halt further extension of the phase out of the sachet alcoholic beverages. In his lead debate during plenary, Senator Ekpeyong reminded the Senate that NAFDAC, in line with international best practices and after extensive consultations with industry stakeholders, had announced a phased ban on the importation, manufacture and distribution of alcohol packaged in sachets. He noted that in 2018, Stakeholders, including the Federal Ministry of Health, the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, NAFDAC, and industry groups such as the Association of Food, Beverage and Tobacco Employers and the Distillers and Blenders Association of Nigeria, voluntarily signed a 5-year memorandum of understanding for the gradual phase-out of such products, citing rising health and social concerns. The lawmaker recalled that despite the initial deadline, the federal government granted manufacturers an additional 1-year moratorium in 2024 to enable them exhaust existing stock and transition to compliant packaging alternatives, extending the phase-out until December 2025. However, Senator Ekpeyong expressed concern that as the deadline approaches, some manufacturers continue to lobby for another extension, a move he said undermines regulatory authority, threatens public health, and distorts fair competition in the industry. Up next is Stock and Money Market Report.
Trading on the Nigerian Exchange closed mixed on Thursday, November 6, 2025, with investors exchanging 619.6 million shares worth 16.5 billion naira in 24,854 deals. This represents a 20% rise in volume and a 3% uptick in turnover, though deals declined by 9% from the previous session. The market capitalization dipped slightly to 95.3 trillion naira, reflecting sustained profit taken across key sectors. Out of 129 traded equities, 15 gained while 39 declined. UPDC led the gainers with 9.83% share price appreciation, closing at 6 naira 59 kobo per share from an opening price at 6 naira per share, followed by FCMB Group which surged 8% to close at 10 naira 80 kobo per share, while Omatech Ventures gained 7.44% to close at 1 naira 30 kobo per share, and ICO Insurance climbed the gainers chart, earning 5.35% to end Thursday's trading session at 3 naira 74 kobo per share. On the losing side, Legend Internet came out last with an end-of-day price depreciation of 9.93% at 5 naira 26 kobo per share, followed by Champion Breweries dropping 9.72% to wrap up Thursday's trading session at 14 naira 40 kobo per share from an opening price of 15 naira 95 kobo per share. Meanwhile, the benchmark Nigerian Exchange All-Share Index dropped 541.32 points to close at 150,573.87, representing a 1-week loss of 0.36% and a 4-week gain of 3.5% and an overall year-to-date gain of 46.29%. This is business news in Global News. Chimizi Zadima reporting for Signature TV News.
Still to come, Trump says international stability force for Gaza will be on the ground very soon. Sweden and Ukraine signed letter of intent on defense innovation. Do stay with us.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking. Events occur and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
US President Donald Trump has revealed that Iran has reached out to inquire about the possible lifting of American sanctions imposed on the country.
frankly, Iran has been asking if the sanctions could be lifted. Iran has got very heavy U.S. sanctions, and it makes it really hard for them to do what they'd like to be able to do. And I'm open to hearing that, and we'll see what happens, but I would be open to it. But we did take the sanctions off Syria.
Iran's mission to the United Nations in New York has yet to respond to that claim. Earlier in the week, Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, declared that cooperation with the United States would remain impossible as long as Washington continues to back Israel, maintain military bases, and interfere in Middle Eastern affairs. Since beginning his second term in office in January, President Trump has reinstated his maximum pressure policy on Tehran, a strategy aimed at preventing Iran from developing nuclear weapons. In June, the U.S. carried out airstrikes on Iran's nuclear sites, before tensions escalated into a 12-day war between Iran and Israel in June. Both nations had engaged in 5 rounds of nuclear negotiations. However, talks have since stalled over key issues, particularly uranium enrichment, a process Western powers want eliminated to prevent potential weaponization, a demand Tehran has firmly rejected. The United Nations and Security Council removed sanctions on Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara, who is due to meet U.S. President Donald Trump at the White House on Monday. The U.S. drafted resolution on Thursday also lifted sanctions on Syrian Interior Minister Anas Khattab. It received 14 votes in favor, while China abstained. Washington has been urging the 15-member Security Council for months to ease Syria's sanctions. Trump announced a major U.S. policy shift in May when he said he would lift U.S. sanctions on Syria.
The result of the voting is as follows: 14 votes in favor, 0 votes against, 1 abstention. The draft resolution has been adopted as Resolution 2799.
Colleagues, with the adoption of this text, the Council is sending a strong political signal that recognizes Syria is in a new era since Assad and his associates were toppled in December 2024. There is a new Syrian government in place, led by President Ahmed al-Shara, that is working hard to fulfill its commitments on countering terrorism and narcotics, on eliminating any remnants of chemical weapons, and promoting regional security and stability, as well as an inclusive, Syrian-led and Syrian-owned political process.
President Donald Trump said on Thursday that the International Stabilization Force for Gaza would be on the ground very soon. The United States will share a draft resolution on President Donald Trump's peace plan for Gaza with the 10 elected members of the United Nations Security Council later on Wednesday, a U.S. official said. The United States has drafted a UN Security Council resolution that would approve a 2-year mandate for a Gaza transitional governance body and an international stabilization force in the Palestinian enclave, according to the text seen by press.
Very soon. It's going to be very soon. And Gaza is working out very well. And you haven't been hearing too much about problems. And I'll tell you, we've had countries that have volunteered. If there's a problem with Hamas, as an example, or a problem with anything, but they volunteered to, on a single basis, go in and take care of it. We have very powerful countries in this coalition. And it's not, this is because I've heard some of the press saying, well, it's a very tentative, or it's not tentative. This is a very strong peace. This is peace in the Middle East. Hamas is a very small part of it, very, very small part. And if they don't do as they said, if they don't behave, then they've got themselves a big problem, a really big problem like they've never had. But so far, it seems to be working out very well. But that's a very small part of what we're talking about. That's a part of Gaza.
A pro-Israel protester holding an Israel flag was led away by police as tensions rose outside Villa Park on Thursday evening, ahead of the Europa League fixture between Aston Villa and Israeli soccer club Maccabi Tel Aviv. British police had mounted a large operation with 700 officers to prevent trouble in the city of Birmingham. With Israeli sports teams a focus for pro-Palestinian protests during the Gaza conflict and Villa initially staying away, fans will be barred on police advice. Maccabi reluctantly opted not to accept tickets for visiting supporters. Despite that, pro-Palestinian groups staged protests. West Midlands Police said there would be a big police presence in the center of Birmingham, which has a large Muslim population, and around the stadium. Police officers were seen patrolling the area outside the stadium, and a small group of protesters were gathered with pro-Palestinian banners. Last November, more than 60 people were arrested in Amsterdam after clashes around a match between Maccabi and Ajax.
Well, today people are protesting here because our Prime Minister and the Home Secretary are completely out of touch with their community. And in fact, I won't say out of touch, they've thrown their community under the bus. When our West Midlands Police decided on credible intelligence that they will not allow Maccabi Tel Aviv fans to come, the fact that Keir Starmer has doubled down saying that it's anti-Semitic is the direct reason for a protest here. If the fans didn't have come, our people would not have been concerned, but the fact that our Prime Minister continues to put us under the bus is forcing us to come here, and we will continue to do it anyway. When it comes to Palestine, we believe that there is a plausible genocide taking place. We believe that there is favoritism. We can ban Russian fans due to Russian aggression, but we can't ban Israeli fans due to Israeli aggression. It makes no sense.
Phil Foden of Manchester City has been named UEFA Champions League Player of the Week for match day 4 of the 2025-2026 group stage, while Nigerian striker Victor Osimhen of Galatasaray finished second. The results were confirmed by UEFA on its official website on Thursday. Foden scored twice in Manchester City's 4-1 win over Borussia Dortmund, helping Pep Guardiola's side move into the top 8 of the group phase. He also registered 1 key assist, completed 92% of his passes, and created 4 chances in 87 minutes of play. Osimhen became the second Nigerian ever to score a Champions League hat-trick during Galatasaray's 3-0 win at Ajax Amsterdam. He completed the match with 3 goals, 2 shots on target, and 1 key pass, operating at 86% passing accuracy over 90 minutes. Other nominees for the Player of the Week include Club Brugge's Carlos Forbes and Arsenal's Mikel Merino. Forbes registered 2 goals and 1 assist after playing 90 minutes in Club Brugge's 3-3 draw with Barcelona. He also created 3 chances with an 88% passing accuracy. Merino finished the week with 2 goals, 2 shots on target, and a 90% passing accuracy after playing 85 minutes of Arsenal's 3-0 win over Slavia Praha. That's the news this hour. I am Uchenna Chimdi Oluoha. Thanks for watching.
Signature TV, news in your pocket. Signature TV, news in your pocket.
This is Diaspora 5, where we spotlight bold voices and African excellence across Europe and America. Big wins, big vibes, fired every week, just for you. Across Europe and America, a vibrant story is unfolding. From the boardrooms to the dance floors, from red carpet premieres to cultural festivals, Nigerians and Africans in the diaspora are making waves.
I am Ike Udechime. Join me as we highlight the voices and victories of Africans living in the diaspora.
Welcome to Diaspora 5, where home meets the world.
New every morning on Signature TV, we open the day for you with needed energy, information, and required vibes to shape your day. From sizzling snippets of stories in various areas of life to intriguing conversations with net worth guests.
When you have people who have no track record becoming your leaders, you have a problem.
There's no outstanding gratuity when Obi took over from me. I left in all the accounts of Anambra State 13.8 billion for him.
Your day cannot be complete without Signature Morning on weekdays and Signature New Day on weekends. There is no better way to start your day except Signature Morning and Signature New Day every day on Signature TV.
Get plugged into the heartbeat of entertainment on The Hub, your ultimate show on eVibes. From trending stories and social media drama to top charting music, must-watch movies and exciting moments from the world of arts, we've got it all. Join us for unmissable conversations with your favorite entertainment personalities, plus fun segments every week.
I should try harder, so...
Okay, I don't know that one.
Outfit of the day.
Oh, I don't do that. That's some Gen Z stuff.
Oh, now you say it's a Gen Z stuff. It's everything you love about entertainment, served fresh every week at 1 p.m. with weekend repeats just in case you missed it. The Hub's on eVibes, where the vibes never stop. Only on Signature TV.
Signature TV, news in your pocket. Signature TV, news in your pocket.
I'm not bothered about the existence of law. I'm only bothered about the willing power of the power that be to fight and eradicate corruption, which is a constitutional duty. But are we doing so? My answer is yes, because the anti-corruption agencies appears to be hamstrung by so many factors, including political factors, interference from those who ought not to interfere with the job of the anti-corruption agencies. Anti-corruption agencies have the power to call for any documents, and I think that they are doing that job and doing it well, but the end product of the efforts they put and the way some power that be interfere with the system and make the independent institution not independent, I think is the bane of the fight against corruption. And I have always said Nigeria is only a funny country where government advertises its achievements on the pages of newspaper and by the medium of television, but when you go to the site you will not see it. It will surprise you to know that this level of sophisticated corruption is being elevated, so much so now that you can see corrupt judgments being delivered in favor of corrupt public and private officials. How do they do it? With the connivance of people in power. Some people
Signature TV.
Welcome to E-Vibes, the entertainment show on Signature TV. I'm your baby girl, Queenette Mukunta. We, of course, tend to give you interesting stories, top chatting drama from the world of arts, fashion, music, movies, and, of course, social media. We have interesting stories for you today. And as usual, on Fridays, we tend to recommend interesting movies for you to watch this weekend. We also have an interview which we'll be reviewing to you after all that. But first of all, let's delve into the stories of the day. Nollywood actress Regina Daniels broke down in tears in a new video expressing frustration and despair over ongoing family struggles and shared a heartfelt post declaring, "I give up." In the video shared via her Instagram story in the early hours of Friday, the actress said she was struggling emotionally and mentally. The actress, who had earlier celebrated her parents' reconciliation on Thursday, disclosed that her once estranged parents reunited solely for her happiness. She added that her parents are currently in Abuja, working together to secure the release of her brother, Sammy, who has allegedly been in detention for days. In another video shared by Daniels, fellow actress Mercy Johnson was seen searching for Sammy. Amid tears, Daniels expressed her frustration and hinted at returning to her husband. The emotional outburst comes weeks after Daniels hinted at experiencing domestic violence in her marriage. On October 18, a viral video showed her in tears, surrounded by aides and family, saying, "In Ned Woko's house, I am nothing, but in my house, I am a queen. Not again. I can't stand the violence. It's too much." Woko later denied the allegations, claiming his wife's outburst stemmed from drug and alcohol abuse and insisting she needed rehabilitation. Take a look at the video.
I tried. I tried. I feel like I'm going crazy. I'm losing my mind and it's not making any sense. I'm finally crying in front of everybody. But please, what am I even begging for? I don't know. Do you guys think it's easy? Every time I'm waking up, I'm seeing one thing. Oh, my brother online. Today I hear good news. Oh, it's about to be free. Tomorrow I hear another thing. Like, what's the problem? But I've tried. I'll go back. I'll go back.
It's so sad to see her in this state. I mean, I will keep saying they would have taken this out of social media. Honestly, they would have. The beginning of this problem was when the video was out there that, oh, she's going through domestic violence. I'm sure maybe she didn't know it would be uploaded, but of course it happened to be uploaded. And then the husband, who is Senator Ned Nwoko, had to come up on social media and say, oh, my wife is a drug addict, yada yada yada, you know. And this had to stir into so many other talks, problems and all. At the end of the day, I would still say they would have taken this family problem out of social media. But one would want to ask, why exactly are you arresting her family members? You have a problem with Regina Daniels. She filed for a divorce amid domestic violence, and you said she needs to go to the rehab. She said she doesn't want to go to the rehab, rather filing for a divorce. Why not let her go? It was just yesterday when news came up that, oh, they've asked you several times to come collect your bride price and you don't want to respond to that. It's not that people are happy or sad about this. The only problem people are having about this whole case, drama and scenario is the abuse of power. Because nobody sees any reason why you should be arresting her family members. If you go through her Instagram story, you tend to see that, oh, her mother said she might be arrested on Monday. For what reason? That's why Nigerians are not happy. In as much as others are saying, when you were enjoying the money, where were we? We were not there. So why are you calling on Nigerians to come help you? The truth is this: she's just 24. She had made her mistakes, and I think she has learned from it. Nobody is asking her to go back to that marriage. I mean, if you're going through domestic violence and you feel it's better for you to leave, despite the fact that you're enjoying the luxury, the money and all that, your life is very important. So yes, this is a very strong battle. You're fighting with a very powerful man. You need to be up in your game and work with your brains, right? It's not something you just come up on social media and cry. The first video she made, I actually wanted her to make that video, but the video came out the wrong way. She just had to say things out of emotions, and you know, she didn't take out her time to make that video. She